Welcome to r/NuclearRevenge, where in Texas, if you screw over your workers, they will shut down your entire life in the most creative and stinky way. So sit back, plug your nose, and enjoy the show. Hello. I've been enjoying the pro-revenge, nuclear revenge, entitled parents, malicious compliance, and I don't work here vids on YouTube, and they just brought back all kinds of memories, so I thought I would post a few. I'm posting this one here as I seem to notice that nuclear revenge tends to not only have devastating effects, but sometimes questionable means were used, and this story fits that perfectly. So anyway, it is the early 90s, and I was in my 20s, working as an electrician with my best friend. We were known as the Hawkeye, me, and Trapper Honeycutt, old MASH reference, team of our crew, and we kept everyone on the job site laughing and in good spirits even in the worst of times. We were working new construction of an elementary school and had been on site since the very beginning, and we're 2 weeks away from punch out. That's where construction is complete and inspections are done looking for any flaws or corrections that need to be made. Anywho, the superintendent over the whole construction site was a major jackhole, and had been since day one. He was new and wanting to make a name for himself. It was his first time running a job and he made several mistakes, and always blamed others. Remember me mentioning worse of times. He consistently cut corners to save on cost, which would turn around and bite him later on. He had gotten several good hands fired. He would run good contractors off the job and bring in his friends to replace them. The drywallers and painters were a couple of examples, and I heard that he had half the plumbers run off and replaced with his crew as well. He was a total jackhole to us electricians as well, wanting us to work overtime but not willing to pay for it. He was really wanting to keep us behind so that he could charge the company fines. Our small company finally bought in a couple extra hands, which pissed him off even more because we were starting to catch up. By the time Christmas rolled around, we were ahead of everyone else, and as mentioned, the job was nearing punch-out status. 2 weeks before Christmas, my friend's car, since I was his roommate, I carpooled with him and didn't have my own transportation, lost its rear end, and we, my best friend and I, missed 2 days of work repairing it. The jackhole superintendent saw this as an opportunity and told our job foreman to have us fired, if not run us off the job site. He tried to kick us off property himself, but since he had no legal means, tried to have our job foreman run us off, citing we were unsafe and a distraction, keeping others from getting any work done. His argument was dismissed, since, as I mentioned, we were ahead of everyone else. It was the day before Christmas Eve, our last day before we'd be off for the holiday. He knew our supervisor, who was visiting that day, was deathly afraid of snakes. Earlier that day, a small rattlesnake had been found hibernating beneath a porta-john that had been moved and killed. Gotta love Texas. The jackhole superintendent had bought a cooler full of beer for his crew when the day ended. Well, our supervisor made his rounds, inspecting our work and talking to our foreman, and since we were his last stop, was ready to leave and start his holiday. The superintendent told him to have a beer and pointed out the cooler. Our supervisor opened the lid to the cooler and had a heart attack. Literally. The dead snake was inside. When the EMTs finally cleared him, the superintendent was telling him that he saw me and my friend at the cooler earlier that day and blamed us. Of course, we had been under the foreman's nose all day, in which half of it was with the supervisor, and our supervisor was aware of the jackhole's tricks, so he didn't give in to the demands of us being fired. Now for the nuclear revenge. My friend and I did not take kindly to our supervisor being harmed, nor to the blame being pinned on us. Do to us what you will, but do not harm those in whom we have respect. Like I said, it was the last day of work before the Christmas holiday. We had Christmas Eve and Christmas off. After work, my friend and I drove up to the bait shop and picked up a gallon of Catfish Charlie. For those who don't know, catfish are attracted to really foul odors, and Catfish Charlie was one of the stinkiest baits used for fishing for catfish. I mean, one whiff will turn your stomach and you will turn green. A cast iron stomach is what's needed to not just lose your lunch. We drove back to the school and around back to where the air handler unit is. For those who don't know, the air handler is the main environmental unit for commercial buildings, air conditioning and heating. We opened up the main intake duct and dumped the whole bucket of the catfish Charlie and closed the duct back up. For good measure, we also added about 1.5 pints of water and stirred it into a nice thinner paste so that it wouldn't dry out quickly. I did learn that even though longtime smokers, I could hold my breath a full 1.5 minutes, and my friend 2 minutes, probably due to him being ex-military. Neither of us could see for about 10 minutes due to the tears, and it was a miracle we didn't lose the contents of our stomach. Even in Texas, winters can get cold, including on the coast, and this was a particularly cold winter, staying in the 20s and teens Fahrenheit. It even snowed on Christmas, not enough to write home about, which maybe happens about once every 10 to 15 years. Remember, this was Wednesday, and like I said, we had Christmas Eve and Christmas off, and then the weekend. 4 full days for that stink bait to stew in the running heating system. Come to find out later, the jackhole superintendent and his cronies had forgotten to lower the main thermostat before leaving for the long winter holiday weekend. The thermostat is normally lowered to 50 degrees Fahrenheit when closed during winter weather, and then raised to 82 degrees Fahrenheit when closed during warmer. Yeah, it was left at 75 degrees Fahrenheit that whole weekend. It's Monday, and my friend and I pulled up to quite the scene that morning. Martians on all fours seemed to be littering the grounds of the school. Projectile vomiting spewed everywhere. There was an ambulance and 3 fire trucks on the scene with firemen in full rubbers, including respirators, running around everywhere. All of the doors and the windows of the school were open with giant fans venting the buildings. The air was putrid, and we turned green upon exiting the vehicle. Oh, holy F, was all I could say. What the hell happened here? Our boss was sitting on the hood of his car next to ours, his breakfast artfully painted on the ground. The jackal superintendent and a couple of his guys were in the back of the ambulance on oxygen as they had taken in the full brunt upon opening the building. Okay, let's tally the damage. The smell had permeated everything, and I mean everything. The school, besides cafeteria, was fully carpeted. The drop ceilings were of the fiberglass type as well as the insulation, so they absorbed the smell. The walls that weren't cinder block were papered and not painted. Since the inner ductwork was the insulated type on the inside, all of that had to be replaced as well. Needless to say, tens of millions of dollars in damage. Also, a fence had to be erected to prevent such a thing from ever occurring again. Come to find out, the superintendent had skimped on the insurance and pocketed the money. So needless to say, it fell to his company to cover all the costs. All of his underhanded dealings came to light in the end as well. Needless to say, he lost his job and was arrested, losing his contractor's license forever. Our boss never said anything, but I'm thinking due to the way he always grinned at us after that day, he had his suspicions that it was us. But he never turned us in and did put us in for a big raise. Since the smell didn't permeate any of our stuff, and our jobs were complete anyway, the plumbers, electricians, and pipe fitters were spared from ever having to enter that mess. Yeah, nearly 30 years, I guess the statutes of limitations are well up, so I can safely tell the story. I want to admit that I do feel ashamed for doing it. Being young and dumb and all is a great excuse, but a good contractor service went bankrupt, and a lot of jobs were lost in the end. And from what I hear, the school still has a foul odor, even today. Well, about 18 years ago from what I heard. Yeah, we expected to stink up the place, but we did not expect such a result. Edit, I just want to note from a question in the comments. During that time in the contractor construction field was a major boom. One could quit or lose their job and be working at another company within the hour, and generally earning more money. Edit 2, also brought to my attention in comments. True, EMTs cannot clear someone from a heart attack. I should have worded it better. The EMTs did stabilize my supervisor. He refused to go to the hospital wanting to be home for Christmas. Since the EMTs could not force him, When they got his vitals stabilized, they left. A week later, an EKG did confirm the heart attack. He was admitted to the hospital for a double bypass surgery. Edit number 3. Okay, hopefully last edit. A lot of people want to know if the school still stinks today. I called my brother since he lives down there, and I'm no longer in the area. I learned that my friend lied to me 18 years ago when he said that it still did. My brother said that 5 years after the incident, after many complaints, it was torn down and rebuilt. Wow guys, that revenge stinks. Literally, Catfish Charlie is apparently no joke. I know one of you has experience with this stuff. Tell me about it in the comment section below. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it.